By the way, as partisanship seems to be the rule in Washington, its grip tightening by the day, a question: are the days of good old-fashioned, middle-of-the-road, compromise-minded, centrist politics behind us? Comes to mind as people watch President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill make its way slowly through Congress. The president is making his opinions about that bill very clear to all those Republicans who don't support the legislation. Trump threatened to campaign, in fact, against Republican Senator Thom Tillis after Tillis said he would not support the bill. Then, following an online bashing from the president and others, Tillis announced his own plans to retire from Congress. He's going to take his ball and go home at the end of this term. And then, just yesterday, in the House of Representatives, Republican Congressman Don Bacon cited backlash from members of his own party as a contributing factor in his decision not to seek re-election. What's going on here? Former Republican Senator and former U.S. Ambassador to Turkey, Jeff Flake, has been outspoken about his concerns regarding Congress becoming ever so increasingly partisan, and he joins us now. I would say Senator Flake, but you've upgraded to Ambassador Flake, so good to have you on here.
Is that an upgrade?
It is for sure, sir, an upgrade. I want to talk, I want to point out that the sort of extreme party loyalty and being held hostage by the party, it afflicts Democrats as well as Republicans. But in the Republican case, which is on display here, you've got a bill that will increase the federal deficit by trillions of dollars, which many Republicans campaigned on being against, and yet they're going to vote for it. How does that happen?
Yeah, it's difficult. As you mentioned, this is a thing that afflicts both parties, this extreme partisanship. It's a little bit different, though. On the Democratic side, it's tied more to policy. On the Republican side, it's tied more to personality. In fact, President Trump changes his positions quite frequently, and as a Republican member of Congress, you're expected to remain with that position, whatever it is. But it is something that's afflicting both parties, and it becomes really difficult when you have must-pass legislation or the budget or something to keep the government open or legislation that just has to pass. When you have such slim margins, it's very difficult.
Ambassador, what do you think got us to this point? It seems like these days when people disagree, it's more personal. It's about going against the individual rather than a philosophy or policies. It really seems to have amplified. But what is responsible for all this?
Well, some people will point to President Trump, and he's not the author of all of this. This began before he did, although I should say I started Congress in 2001 with President George W. Bush. I often voted against some of his policies, No Child Left Behind or the prescription drug benefit, but he didn't take it personally. Those were tough, tight votes like this one. But, in the end, he came and raised money for me to run for the Senate. So it was just seen differently back then. You didn't single out members of Congress and say, I'm going to primary you. So that makes it even more difficult to get somebody from the other side. We just don't have many people cross the aisle these days.
Ambassador, what role do closed party primaries play in this kind of partisanship? Because you've got representatives in Congress and in the Senate who are elected allegedly by their whole constituency, but really they've got to worry about that primary process, which is only members of the party who are highly motivated.
A huge problem. If you look at one of the few remaining really independent Republicans in the Senate, it's Lisa Murkowski. She can do so because they have a system in Alaska that isn't a closed primary system. So she can get by the primary and win the general. Thom Tillis could have easily won a general election. I likely could have, in 2018 had I chosen to run. But to get through a primary, no chance if the president has, singled you out and is going after you. So the primary system that we have means that, you lose a lot of people who are bipartisan, who will actually legislate. And that's a big problem.
Real quick before we let you go, is there a solution to all of this?
Well, some of the reforms like Alaska has done would help immensely. And for people like Thom Tillis, I mean, to say, hey, I'm just going to vote my conscience wherever it goes. It is a real honor to serve in the Senate. Believe me, I know. But nothing is worth voting against your conscience or doing things that you wouldn't otherwise do.
All right, Ambassador Jeff Flake, thank you very much.